Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I am presenting another book haul. This book haul is my summer book haul. These are books that I bought in the months of June and July. As I moved from Virginia to Georgia, I decided to buy a lot of books when I got here because I had not been to the used bookstores here in a while. So I have a lot of genres. I have several fantasy books, I have sci-fi books, I have Star Trek novels, I have contemporary fiction, a few of those books, I have a legal thriller on there, and much more. So I'm really excited to get into this big book haul. I haven't even counted the books yet, but it's a lot. So the first books I will discuss are what I literally just found tonight as I'm recording this, which is I found a trade paperback copy of The Dragonbone Chair, which this is the best cover I've ever seen of this one. I saw the cover that they have in the new bookstores and online now is just has a big sword on it, and each book has a big sword, and that's just boring. That's just plain old boring. Instead, we have this big old Michael Whalen cover, and my favorite cover artist is always Daryl K. Sweet, but my second favorite is probably now Michael Whalen, and this cover is just gorgeous. And not only did I find this version, I also found the second book in the series. The first one's The Dragonbone Chair. I also found The Stone of Farewell, and also the hefty one, The Green Angel Tower. And when I saw all three in the same bookstore, one right after another, for actually really, really cheap, I was like, I have to get this. I haven't started the series yet, but I really, really want to. I've heard a lot about it, particularly from Jay Kennedy over at Caption and Words. And so when I heard that this was a good series, I've wanted to get it, but I'd never liked the edition. And so when I saw this edition there, very uniform for the most part, except for that little writing down there that I don't like. But anyway, very good edition. So that's the first three books in my haul. The next book I'll talk about is a science fiction book. This is called Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard. I got to one of the local bookstores that is very small, very independently run. There's literally one guy that runs the whole bookstore. And he always has great deals on books, and he always has a lot of great science fiction fantasy books. And I saw this one in there. This one has been making the rounds recently because they just did a new edition that's gotten into all the Barnes and Nobles and stuff. And I've not read anything by L. Ron Hubbard, but I heard this is like the starting place if you want to read something of his fiction, that is. Apparently he's a very controversial person because of his creation of Scientology, but apparently his science fiction is still quite interesting. So I got this one. Battlefield Earth. It is an incredibly long book. It is well over 1,000 pages. It's almost 1,100 pages. And so I'm really interested in reading this eventually as I'm getting more into science fiction books. And also because of some influences that Hubbard had on the genre. So the next one on my list is two books together. I have two books by David Weber, On Basilisk Station and Honor Arrington, The Honor of the Queen. Everyone tells me you gotta read the Honor Arrington series. And at one point I tried reading one of David Weber's books, and I wasn't enjoying it at the time, and which is rare. I rarely DNF. I DNF maybe one or two books a year. That's it. That's how few books I DNF. And it was a David Weber book a couple years ago that I DNF'd. But everyone says I should get into it more, especially with my love of Timothy Zahn, who is a collaborator sometimes of David Weber, and also they both write for Baen Books. They both write military science fiction. So I found these two books. These apparently are the first two books in the series. I know nothing about it, the Honor Arrington series, but they were really cheap at the same used bookstore, and so I was like, hey, I'm going to get this. So I now have the first two books. I'm going to read those, and then if I like those two books, I'll keep going, and if not, I'll have given it a fair chance. Now I have another science fiction novel, this by one of my favorite science fiction authors, and this is Kevin J. Anderson. I've read a lot of books by Mr. Anderson. I've read some fantasy from him. I've also read some science fiction, and I've just loved his writing. I love his style. I love his plots. I know a lot of people don't like his dialogue, and I admit it's one of the weaker aspects of his writing, but his plots are so good, and he's such a good conceptual author. And so this is apparently a novel about an oil spill that causes great ramifications. And it was originally written in like the 90s, and then in the 2000s, after some oil spills happened, it got reprinted and got really popular again. So I saw this one and I was like, you know what? It's a cheap Kevin Anderson book. It's a standalone because he has a lot of different series out there. I was like, it's a standalone. I'll try to get it. I have no idea when I'll get to it because I have way too many Kevin Anderson science fiction novels yet to read. But I intend to get to this one day. It's called Ill Wind, I believe. It says the oil crisis has begun, and it's kind of got like a horse-drawn carriage carrying a satellite, so it's like a western with. It looks like a western with science fiction. It's so interesting cover. So that's that book. The next thing I'll talk about is some Star Trek novels that I got, some tie-in books. I got two. I got a book called Q Squared by Peter David. I just recently read a Peter David novel and loved it. I read one book about a year ago that I didn't love by him, but I read one book before Dishonor recently that was most excellent, and I loved it. And I'm trying to get all my Peter David books I can before I binge through all of his novels, and so I found this one. The second book I found, I actually am having buyer's remorse about, and it was Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Hollow Men by Una McCormack. I've loved every Una McCormack book I've read, and I was super excited to see her in the used stuff, her books in the used section. And so when I was at that bookstore, that small bookstore, I was like, you know what, I'm going to buy the book. And I didn't take time to look at the book properly because there is writing all over this cover that you probably can't see in the camera, but is present in reality. And it's beat up on the inside a lot, and I'm having buyer's remorse. I might keep this book a while, and then if I can find a better copy, get it. And I don't know what I'll do because this isn't a great copy. But still, it's a Star Trek book, which I was excited about. And keeping the sci-fi theme going, this is probably the most sci-fi books I've ever gotten in a single haul, is The Backlash Mission. The Backlash. That's hard to say. The Backlash Mission. There we go. By Timothy Zahn. I believe this is the second book in the Backlash series. I think he wrote 3. He wrote The Backlash Mission, and then The Judas Solution. And so this is the second book in that series. I have no intention of reading this until I find book 1, which I saw somewhere. Or was it The Black Collar? Whatever. It's a trilogy. And I got this one because this is super hard to find. But I got this, and I got once I get the first and third books, I will read this trilogy. I've loved Timothy Zahn. I have many Timothy Zahn videos on the channel that you can check out. And so I will be reading that eventually. The next thing is a series of books that I got. Other than like the Dragonbone chair and stuff, I don't always just buy a whole series before reading it. I did this, I started reading Rune Lords, and I was halfway through it, and I loved it. And so I bought books 2 and 3, and then eventually bought 4 a few weeks later. But I bought books 2 and 3 because I was just so excited about it. And I did that with some of the Cosmere from Brandon Sanderson. But other than that, I buy the first book and I read it, and then if I enjoy it, I go to the second book and then I read it. That's traditionally how I buy, unless there's a special circumstance. Well, this one, I've loved these covers for this next book series. It's by Daryl K. Sweet, the covers, and I've been really interested in getting into it. The series really is confusing the way it's set up, and when I tried to do research on it, I just got more confused. But the covers are great, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy the books because it's my style, it seems to be. And we have The Magic of Recluce, the Saga of Recluce series by L.E. Modesitt Jr. The first book, The Magic of Recluce. I also was able to find the second one, The Towers of the Sunset, sorry. Ironically, I found all 4 of these copies on different times I went to the bookstore. Like, I found the first one first, and then I found the 4th one, and I was like, I'll try to look for 2 and 3 in the middle. And then I found book 2 the next week, and then the next week I found book 3. So apparently I picked the right time to go to the bookstore to get these. And so book 2, Towers of the Sunset. Book 3, The Magic Engineer. Oh, beautiful cover. And then book 4, The Order War. Probably my least favorite of the 4 covers, but still a pretty good cover. So I will be reading that at least the first book very soon. We'll see how it goes. And it's just that classic 90s Wheel of Time-ish fantasy book covers that I really like. And then let's get into some other, I have some media tie-in fiction books. Halo, I bought 2 Halo books from the used bookstore. I read one Halo book recently that was by Matt Forbeck called New Blood, and I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. And I've never played Halo before. I played like 5 minutes of a Halo game when my roommate was doing something with it, but that's it. I knew nothing about Halo, and so I read that little book. It's almost a novella, but it really is it's like in between a novella and a novel, and I enjoyed it. And I was like, I need to get more Halo novels, and so everyone's recommended other books for me to get, and I will read the other books, but these were really cheap at the used bookstore. This book's Point of Light by Kelly Gay, and this book's Divine Wind by Troy Denning. These were really, really cheap, and so I was like, you know what, I'll get them, and then I'll fill in my library of Halo books, and then I'll get to them whenever I get to them. So I also am just really impressed by the cover art. I think they do a great job with the cover art of these. This is Gallery, Gallery is really stepping up their job on media tie-in fiction. They just need to get better sources, and when they're doing inside the books, they need they have an about the author page, but this publisher never has a list of the author's novels. Tor usually does this, DAW sometimes does this, and Random House always does this. Random House is great about having an author's list of their other books, but for some reason Simon & Schuster, specifically Gallery, doesn't. So now we're going away from the hard genres, going into the more softer ones. I found a copy of The Help, which I watched the movie and loved it, and then I found out it was a book, and I was like, ooh, I need to read the book because that was an entertaining movie. And I just flipped through this at the store, and I was like, oh, this looks like a fun, breezy read. So I got this. This is The Help by Catherine Stockett. And apparently it looks like it's her only novel. I couldn't find any other books by her online when I searched, so got this one. And then the legal thriller that I hinted at earlier is I found a John Grisham book, The Runaway Jury. I've read 2 of his books so far, and I have a third one to read in the next couple of months, and I've loved them. And The Runaway Jury is a standalone book, and so I'll continue my John Grisham journey. Eventually, I'll just start borrowing my dad's books because my dad has so many of them, and he'll let me have them. But I love John Grisham so far from what I've read, and so I'm sure I'll enjoy this one. And it's much shorter. This one's only about 500 pages in the regular mass market paperback. The other books of his are over 600 pages in the tall rack mass market. So it should be a quicker read. So I'm very excited. So that is my book haul. It is going to be tough to get all of these books into one shot for the end of the video. Let me tell you, because there's a lot of books here. But until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.